Faraday's Mirror, Chapter 6, Montage. The next weeks and months passed quickly. Colton pored over the plans, making lists of necessities, programming his formulas into the computer, shopping using the World Wide Web and his cellular phone, and recording it all in a private journal on his PersonaLink cloud drive. He told his mom he'd be receiving some shipments for the computer he was building. Soon enough, the boxes started arriving. Cole spent days in his room, barricaded by his door and headphones only coming out for swim practice, cereal, peanut butter sandwiches, and dinner. He always had a tendency toward obsession. Byron, lacking the mechanical and mathematical competence of his brother, began distracting his parents as much as possible, and since he knew that no distraction could be as engrossing to his mother as schoolwork or to his father as hockey, he threw himself into his studies and practices with total abandon. He requested his mom's help and attention with math and science. He asked for a unit on herbs and plants, something he knew she was unprepared to teach. So she would have to spend time learning and preparing on her own to be able to assist him. Besides, he figured he could use the unit to help him earn both his plant science and gardening merit badges for scouts. He was going to earn Eagle eventually. He promised himself that. Next, he enlisted his mother's aid in the writing of a compare and contrast paper concerning the two Victorian military disasters at Islamanda and Kabul, even declaring he would give a 10-minute presentation to of the paper to enhance his public speaking skills. The research was fascinating, so listening to the books and watching the documentaries didn't feel like too much effort on his part. In both cases, outmatched local populations used surprise and deceit to overwhelm the much better equipped, trained, and disciplined British troops. Honestly, the idea that South African Zulu tribesmen armed with short spears and cowhide shields could defeat nearly 2,000 British regulars armed with cannon and Martini Henry rifles inspired him. He even checked out a couple of print books and struggled through the pertinent chapters. His paper was mediocre, but the presentation was good enough that he gave an encore performance for his father, who, after all, was a history professor. His dad said it compared favorably with the work done by most of his freshmen. He then suggested they have a movie night to watch an old film called Zulu. To further distract his father, he asked for assistance passing the puck, watching game film, and studying NHL and college hockey games. They even started playing one of his Christmas presents, NHL 96, together on the Super Nintendo. His dad couldn't make a move with the controller without moving it and his whole body in the intended direction. It was pretty hilarious, in Byron's opinion. Even playing as the Red Wings against the Oilers, Charlie couldn't compete. At practice, Byron increased his effort and found his team, the Wildcats, undefeated as January came to a close. The games every Saturday, especially the away games, gave Cole plenty of undisturbed time to work. And the upcoming travel tournament at Norwich University's Taylor Arena would allow Cole a weekend for the finishing touches. Finally, he spent some time with his dad going through maps and guidebooks planning their summer trip. This year, the family intended to head out west to Yellowstone and Glacier National Parks in Montana. It was the most ambitious trip they'd planned. Over the past 3 years, they've been to the Adirondacks in New York, Arcadia in Maine, and to Nova Scotia. The planning for this one was an order of magnitude more complex, and Byron used that to involve his father, and frequently his mother too, in preparations. To be fair, all of this hard work and eagerness would have been more than a little fishy to his mom. She always knew. If he hadn't done plenty of bad things to offset it. In fact, whenever his mom said anything about checking on Cole or giving him chores, Byron would find an ingenious way to bring the focus back to himself. He broke a lamp, burned some toast. It was pretty awesome. Flames actually licked out of the toaster, dropped an open milk jug in the middle of the kitchen floor, and chewed up the living room carpet in the spinning brush of their vacuum, to name a few. In the interim, the mirror grew by leaps and bounds. Cole miniaturized it some to save on expenses and to reduce the power consumption of the device. A series of copper wire-wrapped 3-foot diameter loops, like 4 stacked hula hoops, formed the basis of the machine. The cores of these loops were made from an iron, nickel, cobalt magnetic alloy. He also purchased transistors, resistors, capacitors, circuit boards, and even a hard drive. 2 orange power cords hung off the back end. The mirror would plug into 2 outlets at once. The science of it all was more than Byron could comprehend, but Cole assured him it would work. Better, he thought, than the original. So far, it had cost over $3,200 to assemble. Byron had a recurrent dread that they'd plug it in, switch it on, and the whole thing would fry, literally sending their savings up in smoke.